Right now, it's pretty much universal knowledge that the entirety of the woke media and all of Hollywood is pretty much in financial flames. We know that many different studios, organizations, corporations out there are either dropping their DEI departments or they are doubling down on their DEI narrative, their agenda, whatever it may be, in a very desperate move to try and cope with the fact that the mass amount of the general public really don't want to actually involve themselves with anything related to any of these actors, actresses, writers, producers, directors that get way too involved in politics. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So one actress in particular is that we know that Julia Roberts is really trying very hard to cope with the fact that she's in a very bad spot right now, and she did it all to herself. She has nobody to blame but herself, right? She always points the finger at the public, she always plays the victim card, and this is typical behavior coming from some of these top actresses in the Hollywood sphere, if you will, the Hollywood bubble, that really just can't grasp with reality and with the fact that nobody wants to hear from them anymore, and that the majority of the people, quite frankly, really learn that these celebrities, quote unquote, don't really matter as much as they really prop themselves up to be. Now, what's interesting about this has a lot more to do with Julia Roberts and her overall behavior after getting fired from both Universal and Columbia Pictures. We talked about this last week, about how she was supposed to be in 2 romantic comedy films and 1 sci-fi epic. She got dropped by both Columbia Pictures and Universal. They want nothing to do with her ever again. They booted her out of there, and that all has a lot to do with her getting way too involved with politics. Now, with actresses like Julia Roberts already going on numerous rants in response to the backlash from the public, one in particular, like I said before, has much to do with her recent firing from both Universal and Columbia for 3 projects altogether that was supposed to pay out tens of millions of dollars. Get that. Now, Julia delivered the following. "When you are an actress in this very delicate business," she says, "the last thing you need are many of those on the other side of this country forcing their politics and false narratives, and calling them celebrities, as they like to say, as if actors like myself are doing something bad to the average working American. That's also part of their lie," she says. But what's even more offensive is when it costs the many actors roles, and I have experienced this firsthand, something I am unwilling to go into right now, and perhaps I will go into the specifics soon, but I think what I experienced with some studios just not wanting to work out a deal with me has a lot to do with many of these executives now getting too intimidated by that one side of the country that is delusional, who actually believes that change is coming that fast. These are the same types of people that are costing many actors jobs in their career, whether it's established talent or those that are just getting into this industry. And like I say, I experienced this just recently where some roles I thought I had in the bag just aren't moving forward anymore, or some that have been completely dropped, and I think that's extremely unfair when you hear from some of these studios that they just don't like your politics or your behavior. It most certainly comes from a place of intimidation. I don't believe, and I wholeheartedly mean this, that these studio executives don't believe in what they are saying. They are afraid of the backlash, is what it is. If they decide to greenlight a project with an actress like myself that shares an open opinion, let that sink in. An opinion, and that can actually cost you opportunities. So guys, let me just stop here for a minute about what Julia is trying to cope over. Now, she's trying to cope with the fact that studio executives, right, a lot of these higher-ups at studios like Universal and Columbia, like I mentioned before, they don't want to work with Julia anymore, and she's trying to come up with a way to really describe why she was just booted out of there without really going into the full-on specifics. Now, we already know that what it really comes down to is that it really would destroy their image if they had Julia Roberts going off like this all the time, getting too involved in politics. I mean, she already admitted 3 days ago that she has no plans on shifting away from politics, quieting down related to politics. She has no plan for that. And that's really what it comes down to, is that they don't want somebody like that on their team, somebody that represents them or is a part of their image. They don't want that at all. It has nothing to do with these studio executives being intimidated per se, or even frightened. I think like I say, what it really comes down to is that they are trying to be as professional as they can right now. Is it desperation? Sure, perhaps, and very well may be, actually. In fact, it most likely is. But at the end of the day, we already know that there are some studios that are beginning to wake up finally. It's a slow turn of the tide. She goes on to continue, and I think that is the greatest threat and warning in this business, and what looms for the film industry. It just needs to stop, and it has to be regulated somehow, some way. And I think we will figure out a plan eventually. At least I hope. The same exact thing happened to George. She's talking about George Clooney, and I can confirm that, and I recently spoke to him about it, and he is as frustrated as I am. We need to stop letting the public use celebrities as the scapegoat when it comes to their political views. If you are an actor, I think it's important to stand up for yourself, because otherwise you won't have a career. The great thing about us is that we go by a series of rules and cherish society. We understand basic human emotions, and that should make us trustworthy. We should think right. But I guess not to the crowd that follows the incoming president, which I think is going to be a very rough and difficult 4 years if you are an actress or an actor. I will continue to share my politics no matter what, and I have no plan to back down from that and being the powerful woman that I can be. So there's Julia Roberts again, and before I move on to the next, let me just say another thing here is that we already know that Julia Roberts is losing roles left and right. They are dropping like flies, just like George Clooney. Alright, he's losing a lot of roles. He's getting axed and fired from all these various major Hollywood studios, by the way. So far, Apple Studios is clinging to George Clooney. They don't seem like they want to let him go, especially after Wolf's. But we know that he's doing more indie stuff now, or he's getting more into producing and directing and stuff like that rather than acting, right? That's George Clooney's like new route now, is kind of taking a step back from acting and trying to make his own projects. So that's another thing. That's a whole other conversation. But Julia Roberts, it seems like that she's getting very angry. She's getting very bitter toward the public, especially those that support the incoming president. And that's what she likes to call him, by the way. Now, look, Julia Roberts does not care about the average working American. That's pretty much openly clear here, because she really tries to belittle the normal everyday working people in this country. She goes on to say about how actors go by a series of rules, or actresses go by a series of rules, as if those that are doctors, nurses, construction workers don't. That's basically what she's trying to make her behavior come across as, right? She's belittling those people, is what it sounds like. So I would like to hear what everyone has to say about Julia Roberts, her behavior after getting fired, because this, I think, is top-tier delusional behavior, and it really is one of the greatest examples of how you have an actress like Julia Roberts, who could have been, okay and obtained more roles if she just kind of zipped her mouth shut and didn't really get involved in politics. Not talking about it, not putting it up on social media, not doing any kind of late-night television interviews that surround politics, anything like that. If she stayed away from that, she might have been, okay-ish in her career. But now I think it's just dead in the water. It's completely over for her. So I would like to hear what everyone has to say about this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.